Okay, let's start today's class. Can you hear me? Okay, I see. Thank you. 우리가 이제 지난 시간에 in the previous class we learned that the computer system is composed of several layers, and then also we learned about the abstraction in the computer systems layer. 우리가 저번 시간에 이제 배운 개념 중에 하나가 이제 abstraction이라는 이제 개념이었는데요. 사실 이제 컴퓨터 시스템 여러분들이 이제 배우게 되면서 this computer system is composed of many layers. 그래서 각각의 레이어에 대해서 뭐 간략하게 이제 설명을 했는데, 결국 우리는 나중에 이제 여러분들이 연구 분야를 정할 때에도 어떤 레이어에 집중해서 우리가 이제 연구 분야를 이제 정하게 됩니다. 사실은 뭐 여기에 이제 뭐 일렉트리컬 엔지니어링을 전공한 학생은 없어서 밑에 레이어는 별로 관심이 없을 수도 있지만, 뭐 그래도 이제 우리가 이제 컴퓨터 엔지니어링을 이제 전공한다고 했을 때 거의 이쪽 위에는 우리가 이제 보통 이제 관련이 돼 있는 그런 연구 분야라고 이제 볼 수가 있겠고요. 여러분들이 이제 연구를 하게 될 때 우리는 이제 어떤 하나의 레이어를 이제 집중해가지고 이제 연구를 이제 보통 하게 됩니다. So in the previous class we learned that the computer system is composed of many layers, and then for the computer engineering students, most of computer engineering students, actually the computer engineering research area handles the layers above this digital circuit layer, and then I believe most of you are sophomore year, so not freshman 없죠? 1학년은 없죠. sophomore. So after in the junior or senior year, you may choose your some major. So it's a specific major in computer engineering or your research area. So when you select your research area, you will choose only one layer of the computer system. So this is because the knowledge of the computer system of all layers is very wide. And then it is nearly impossible to learn about these all layers of the computer system. So yeah, you will learn briefly. You will learn some layers of the computer system briefly during your undergraduate coursework, but for the master's or some graduate work, then you will need to focus on single layer of the computer system. Yeah, and then 우리가 이제 그래서 이제 어떻게 이제 컴퓨터 프로세서를 이해를 할 것인가에 대해서 이제 좀 우리가 배웠고요. 그리고 사실은 우리가 이제 아키텍처럴 뷰, 그러니까는 아키텍처의 입장에서 이제 컴퓨터 프로세서라든지 이제 컴퓨터를 이해하는 그런 수준은 거의 이 슬라이드에 나오는 그런 수준이라고 좀 이야기를 했습니다. 그러니까 뭐 각각의 이제 컴포넌트로 이루어진 컴퓨터 시스템을 우리가 이제 공부를 하게 되겠고요. 그다음에 이제 각각의 그 컴포넌트가 어떻게 서로 인터랙트 하는지를 배우는 것, 거의 이 정도 수준으로 배우는 것이 이제 우리가 이제 언더그래주에이트 그 코스에서 배우는 컴퓨터 아키텍처 코스가 이제 되겠습니다. Also we briefly learn about the structure of computer systems, as you know, but actually if you are familiar with the desktop computer, and then if you have assembled this desktop computer by yourself, then you can understand how the computer works, and then what is the CPU, and then what is storage, and then what is the main memory. But recently, most of people does not know about the inside of the computer system. It is because most of people use the smartphone or laptop. This is called a notebook sometimes. So we frequently use smartphone or laptop computers. And then it's not easy to disassemble this type of the computer because it's just a complete, what is it? It's a consumer device. It looks like a complete consumer device, not a assembled computer systems. So we are not familiar with we may not familiar with this some mainboard or CPU or DRAM, but also DIMM and then storage. But if you have assembled your computer system by yourself, then you can understand this figure. It's a motherboard, and then in the motherboard, the CPU chip is located here, and then DRAM is here, and then some other peripherals such as the storage devices or USB devices are connected to this I/O port. So, and then this is some structure of the control system, and so I also briefly mentioned these computer systems. And so, so technology, I also mentioned the technology in the previous class, and yield. And also in this yield part, you can just remember the die area is very critical for the cost of chip. A chip. So chip is just some complete device made by a semiconductor, made from semiconductor. So you can just remember the die area is critical for the cost of a chip. Then this time, we will learn about how to measure the performance of computer system. What is this? So, I believe in the first class, I mentioned the purpose of computer architecture research. Actually, I mentioned the two goals of actually two targets of better computer system. What are they? So target of computer architecture research is to build or develop better computer systems, and then what is the better computer system? Okay, right. Higher performance and lower cost. So today in today's class, we will learn how to measure the performance of a computer system. So actually, our goal is to build a better computer system. That means that computer systems that have higher performance. Then we need to measure the performance of a computer system. So in this class, we will learn how to measure, and then what is the performance metric to that is used in the computer architecture field. Okay, actually the word, we frequently use this word performance in our life. So we sometimes use the performance of a person, like performance of a person frequently in our life. Also, when we buy something, some devices or some product, then we may focus on the performance of such devices or such product. So we may pay higher price for better product. That means that the product which have higher performance. So when we buy for example, when you buy a smartphone, then we just compare the performance of the smartphone. So how can you measure the performance of the smartphone? What is the better smartphone? So we may compare the dimensions of the smartphone, that's true, and the design of the smartphone. But if the dimension, that is size of the smartphone, or some design is the same, then we can compare the performance of smartphone. Then what is the better smartphone which have higher performance? How can you measure? So we can pay a higher price for the better smartphone, but so we may measure, compare some CPU used in the smartphone, and then also we can measure then how can you measure, compare the performance of a CPU that is embedded in the smartphone? How can you measure the performance of CPU? So we can see the frequency, also number of cores, or some better architecture. But this is just some physical condition of the processor. So in order to measure the performance more correctly, then we need to define some performance metric of this processor. Okay, let's see the analogy. So in this slide, this diagram just compares the performance of airplane. But we may think about some many criteria of performance for airplane. For example, we can compare the passenger capacity of airplane. So when you just consider the passenger capacity, then what is the best airplane? Boeing 747. But this is the cruising range. So it is related when the after the airplane takes off from the land, and then how long the airplane runs without fueling. So when we just compare this cruising range mile, some distance of the airplane, then what is the best airplane? DC-8, this airplane. And how about the speed? So when you consider the speed of the airplane, the Concorde is the best airplane. So what is the problem? There are many criteria to measure the performance of an airplane. So and then based on this criterion, the best airplane is different by the criterion of the performance metric. So when you consider the passenger, Boeing 747 is the best airplane. Also some other criterion like speed, Concorde is the best airplane. So how can we measure the performance? So we need some a specific performance metric to measure the performance of an airplane. So we may consider the two different criteria to compare the performance of airplane. So if we want to compare the performance such as the passenger capacity or this cruising speed, then we can just multiply the number of passengers multiplied by speed. Then we can compare these both criteria for the performance of airplane. Then, but when you choose, if you are the CEO of the what's the airplane company, not airplane company, 뭐라고 해야 되지? 항공 airline company, then you need to select the airplane based on this performance. But if customer wants the best airplane, then you may focus on this cruising speed for the performance criterion. Also, if you just consider some capacity, then you can compare the passenger capacity of airplanes. So actually, that is also this analogy can be also applied for computer systems. So let's think about the CPU or some smartphone or some other computer systems. So when we say that this smartphone or this computer has a higher performance, then what is the most considerable criteria? So we frequently say if a computer system is, if there is the computer system A and B, then we frequently say that computer system A is better than B because the computer A is faster than B. So what does this faster mean? It's execution time of apps, applications. So we frequently say that the computer A is faster than computer B, but that means that the execution time that runs on the computer A is shorter than the execution time of apps that runs on the computer B, right? So then what do we compare? Just this time, execution time. So this execution time is frequently called response time. So what is the response time? So it's the elapsed time between start of application to the end of application. This is the response time. So intuitively we just compared this response time of the two different computer systems when we compare the performance of computer systems, right? But there can be, so this is response time is the first criterion to measure the performance of a computer system. The other criterion is throughput. So actually these two criteria are very important. So you need to distinguish this term response time and then throughput. So the definition of the throughput is the amount of work done per unit time. So for example, so this is the amount of work. So people A complete the 4 tasks per hour, and then person B complete the 2 tasks per hour. Then what do we compare? The amount of tasks per hour of different persons. So we just say that A is 4 tasks per hour, and then B is 2. Then which person has higher performance? A, intuitively A, because A complete more work during the same time. That is the throughput of the definition of throughput in the performance of a computer system. So, then what is the difference? So we may think that if the computer is better, then the throughput of a computer is also higher. So that is true. So we may compare like this. So this is a very strong person, A, and then same task, and then small person, so some weak person B. So because A is stronger than B, then what is the response time of A for the same task? The response time can be shorter for A, but the response time of B is longer than the response time of A. So we can say that the A has the higher performance compared to B when you just compare the response time. But how about this? So A is for the stronger A, but the salary of person A is too high. So the CEO just hired many like device B. 사람이라고 하니까 좀 그러네. device B, which is a weaker devices. So let us assume that with the same cost, the CEO can hire, with the same salary, CEO can hire 10 Bs. But with the same salary, the CEO can hire only single A. Then when you compare the throughput, the response time, then which can be better? If the amount of task is larger than large, if the amount of tasks is large, and then also the number of tasks is large, then throughput can be higher for the many Bs. So it depends on some structure of a computer system. So actually the performance, when we measure the performance, when we measure the performance of a single task, then response time is a critical performance metric. But if the size of the task or some number of tasks are large, then throughput can be more critical. Okay. So you need to this is the very important concept in the when we measure the performance of a computer system. So just remember the concept of response time and throughput. Okay, but we in this time, so we will just focus on the response time of a single task. Okay, so if the task size is the same, so it's a task A, and then this same task is run on the different systems like system 1 and system 2. And then we need to measure the performance of the system for the same task A. So that the direct way to measure the performance of a system is to measure the response time. But this performance is the inversely proportional to the response time or execution time. So that's true, because when we say the computer A is faster, that means that the response time or execution time is shorter, right? So you need to remember this. Performance is inverse of execution time. So when you say the system X is n times faster than system Y, then that means that the performance of X is divided by performance Y. Right? So this is the perf X and perf Y. So n is perf X divided by perf Y. But we know that the execution time is inversely proportional to the performance. So when just we compare the when you compare the execution time, then it's the n is the execution time of Y divided by execution time of X. Because that is obvious, but sometimes students are confused for some performance and execution time. 이게 inversely proportional 하기 때문에 가끔, 아주 가끔 헷갈릴 수가 있긴 합니다. So, so this is the example. So for the same program, it takes 10 seconds on a computer system A and 15 seconds on a computer system B. Then we can say that the A is n time faster than B because the execution time is shorter for A. Then what is the n? N is just 15 divided by 10, so 1.5. Or we can say that A is 50% faster than B. 그렇죠? Okay. So when you measure this response time of some program or application, then we need to consider some other elapsed time or response time of other components. And it is because the computer systems, a single computer system is composed of many peripherals and components. So we learned that in a computer system, there is a CPU, external memory, and then storage. Also, computer system is connected to the internet, it's a network, it's I/O. Also, so this computer system is connected to the input and output devices such as keyboard or mice, or some other monitor output devices, such as. So when so the response time of these peripherals or devices also influence the execution time or total execution time of application. That's obvious because when we play game like a real-time simulation game, then the performance of a game is influenced by our reaction time, like how to move mice or how to click the keyboard. So actually, so the total elapsed time of application is influenced by many factors, like input and output devices. Then, so this is the what's that? It's the scene performance. But when you just compare the performance of a processor or some CPU, then we need to remove the influences from these input and output devices. Because in the computer system, CPU is just here. So actually, all instructions are executed by CPU. But some application, the response time of the application is influenced by the input and output devices. But when we just measure the performance of a processor, then we need to only focus on this CPU time. So CPU time is the time spent processing, so executed by CPU. So when we compare to this CPU time to some input and output device time or some overhead of the operating system should be ignored. That's not a fair game. So in the CPU time, we just focus on some elapsed time while instructions are executed by CPU. So just ignore the other influences, and then we only just focus on the elapsed time while the instructions are executed by CPU. So this is the CPU time, and then when we just compare the performance of a processor or CPU, then we only just compare the CPU time. 예, 이거는 뭐 당연할 거죠. 우리가 이제 페어하게 컴페어를 하려면 다른 여러 가지 이펙트들은 우리가 이제 무시를 해야 되는 거죠. 예, 특히나 이제 사실 아까 게임 얘기를 했지만 게임 하는 사람의 어떤 퍼포먼스에 따라서 또 영향을 받잖아요. Input and output devices. So just when we compare the performance of a CPU or processor, we just measure the CPU time. Okay. So when you measure this CPU time, we need to understand CPU clocking, because the CPU is a kind of digital circuit, and then if you took the digital logic design, all kinds of digital circuit working with clock signal. So what is the digital circuit? The basic of digital circuit. So this is the D flip-flop, is a D flip-flop, and then inside this is D flip-flop, and then this is the combinational logic. So the clock signal is just connected to the flip-flop, and then these flip-flops, what's that? This delay of the combination logic should be shorter than this clock period. It is because the signal, this output signal of the combinational logic should be sampled by rising edge of this D flip-flop. So signal start from the first, this rising edge of this D flip-flop, and the signal start here. And then because of the delay of this combinational logic, signal is generated after some delay, delta delay, or some delay D. But this output signal of the combinational logic is sampled by next rising edge of this clock signal. So this delay of the combinational logic should be shorter than the period of the clock signal. So this is the basic of CPU clocking of this circuit. And then also the CPU, the modern CPU is also the kind of digital circuit. So that means that the CPU processing or CPU execution is clocked by clock signal, sampled by clock signals. So when we measure the this CPU time or CPU response time, then we need to consider the clock period. So what is the clock period? This is the clock signal, and then for the clock signal, the high and low signal is repeated, and then clock period is the time between the rising edge of this and then between the next rising edge of clock signal. So this is the clock period. So clock period is the time of one clock cycle. And then we frequently used clock frequency. It's a clock frequency. Frequency is the inverse of clock period. So if we know the clock frequency of CPU, then we can calculate the clock period of the CPU, right? So if the clock frequency of the CPU is 1 gigahertz, then clock period is 1 nanosecond, right? So that means that if the one clock is consumed by CPU, that means that the 1 nanosecond is taken. 뭐 당연한 거죠? That's obvious. It's easy, very easy, right? So why this clock frequency or clock period is important for the performance of a computer system? The people normally think that if the CPU has higher clock frequency, then the CPU has higher performance. So actually that's true. So when you compare two different CPUs, and CPU A has the 1 gigahertz clock frequency, CPU B has the 2 gigahertz clock frequency, then which is the better CPU? Which is better? Everyone thinks B is better, but that's not true. Yeah, so if the CPU architecture or CPU ISA or number of instructions of application is the same, so all situations are the same except the clock frequency, then clock frequency is proportional to the performance of CPU. But if not, we cannot say which processor is has higher performance with the clock frequency. So we cannot say which processor has higher performance. That is not determined by the clock frequency. It just shows the clock time of one clock cycle. It's a frequency. Okay, so CPU time is, so actually the CPU, as the CPU is the kind of a digital circuit, then the CPU time is defined by CPU clock cycle, that is the number of clock cycles to run an application. So this is CPU clock cycles mean the number of clock cycles to run a certain application, and then multiplied by clock cycle time. This is the clock period. I think that's true. If we know how many clocks are consumed to run on a certain application, then if we know the clock period, then we can easily calculate the CPU time. That's obvious. So this is the definition of CPU time. Also, if we consider the clock rate or clock frequency, then it's the CPU clock cycle divided by clock rate or clock frequency. So if we see this equation, then we can select which part should be improved for higher performance. So actually there are two factors, the number of clock cycles and then clock period. So how can we improve the performance of this computer system? Two ways. Just reduce the number of clock cycles or increase clock rate. So in the previous example, I just asked a question, which processor is better? A, 1 gigahertz, B, 2 gigahertz. So A, 1 gigahertz, B, 2 gigahertz. Then students just consider this factor, increasing clock rate. Oh, B has higher clock rate, 2 gigahertz. So B is better processor. But we need to consider also this number of clock cycles. So this number of clock cycles are dependent on instruction set architecture and also the microarchitecture of processor. So what is that? So for example, this is the CPU A and CPU B, and then CPU A works with the 1 gigahertz clock, B runs with 2 gigahertz clock. Oh, but A has the x86 architecture and then B has ARM architecture. So that means that ISA instruction set architecture is different. So in this case, we don't know which processor is better processor. Also, another counter example is ISA is the same, but the microarchitecture is, this is the Atom, or recently it is called Celeron. and this processor is i7 core i7. So in this case, the architecture is different, but same instruction set architecture is used, but the microarchitecture is different. So in this case, we cannot compare the performance of these two different computers, two different CPUs. So it's just a very simple equation, and then this is an obvious equation, but this equation tells us that if we compare the performance, then we need to consider these two factors. Okay. Do you understand? 아니, 뭐 제가 볼 수가 없으니까는 잘 이해를 하는지 잘 알 수가 없긴 하네요. Yeah. So this is the CPU time example. The computer A has the 2 GHz clock, and then it takes 10 seconds CPU time for a certain application. So some application. And then you are requested to design computer B, and then the goal of the computer B is the 6 seconds of CPU time for the same application. So in order so that means that the execution time is reduced, the performance should be improved because the execution time is reduced. So you can use the fast clock, but when you use the fast clock, then the number of cycles can be increased. So that is also true for the digital circuit design. It is because, so it's a basic of digital circuit design. So delay of this combinational logic should be less than the clock period. So if we use the fast clock, then clock period is reduced, then we may need to split this combinational logic. That's why the clock cycles can be increased with the fast clock. Then what is the question? How fast must computer be clock be? So just this problem, just ask the clock frequency of computer B. So clock rate is here. So CPU time is reduced. So CPU time is here. And clock rate of, because the CPU time is clock cycle, number of clock cycles divided by clock rate. So we can calculate the clock rate very easily. 사실 너무 쉽죠? We can just divide the clock cycle with the clock time B, like here. So, but you know that the clock cycle is the 1.2 times of clock cycle A. The clock cycle is the CPU time multiplied by clock rate. So this is the 10 seconds multiplied by 2 gigahertz is the 20 multiplied by 10 to 9. So we can calculate the clock cycle here. So when you replace this clock cycle A with this value, then clock rate of computer B is 4 gigahertz. So the clock frequency doubles compared to the computer A. Okay, And then, so in this slide, we will learn about the instruction count and CPI. So this CPI is also the very important concept in the when we measure the performance of the computer system. Then the CPI, definition of the CPI is the clock cycles per instruction. So CPI is the number of clocks divided by number of instructions. So this is the clock per clocks per instruction. So definition of the CPI is the taken clock per for a single instruction. Okay. So when we consider the CPI to calculate this CPU time, then the CPU time can be rewritten like instruction count multiplied by CPI multiplied by clock cycle time. So actually, it is because the CPI definition of the CPI is the number of clocks divided by number of instruction. So actually, the number of clocks is the CPI multiplied by number of instruction. So let's just replace to the equation for calculating CPU time. 네, 사실 그렇죠. But this is the very important equation to measure the CPU time. 네. I am teaching very obvious things here, right? Well, sometimes students are confused when they encounter some exam problems in the midterm or final exam about this CPU time. So this is the CPU time. Actually, this is the more popular equation when we calculate the CPU time. So instruction count of application multiplied by CPI multiplied by clock period, clock cycle time. So it is because when we consider this instruction count, maybe you remember this slide. So understanding performance. So for the better performance of computer system, we need to consider these factors like algorithm, programming language, processor, I/O system. And then now we can calculate the performance metric CPU time. So this CPU time has three factors actually. In this slide, two factors, but now three factors: instruction count, CPI, clock cycle time. So why is this important? So instruction count is determined by program, instruction set architecture, and compiler. What is the program? It's the algorithm. Okay. So for the same application, same type of application, and if we use better algorithm, then we can improve the performance of this application. So actually, when we consider the performance of a computer system, I said that the performance of software is also very critical. And then this performance of software is determined by algorithm. That's why algorithm course is very important in this computer engineering department. So algorithm is also very critical. Okay, so when you consider this instruction count, is determined by algorithm, instruction set architecture like x86 or ARM or some RISC-V. So if the number of instructions are determined by different instruction set architecture, also better compiler. So these factors influence the number of instruction of application of an application. And then CPI. How about the CPI? CPI, this clock cycles per instruction, or clocks per instructions are determined by hardware or architecture, microarchitecture. So in the previous slide, I mentioned Atom CPU or Celeron, and Core i7. So what is different? Architecture is different. So if we use different architecture, microarchitecture, then CPI can be changed. So for the better performance, CPI should be lower, right? Also, this clock cycle time. This clock cycle time is the design issue plus technology, like processing semiconductor technology such as the 7 nanometer, 10 nanometer, 14 nanometer technology is a channel width of the CMOS transistor. So as the CPU time is determined by these three factors, then we can also focus on some other factors that influence these components that calculate the CPU time, right? Okay, this is just the example. It's a very simple example. It's a cycle time. CPI is here. So very important. Same ISA, which is best. If the different instruction set architecture is used, then we cannot calculate. We cannot compare the performance of these two different computer systems. You need to think why. Oh, this number of instruction count can be changed. But in this problem, this question mentioned the same ISR is used. So in this case, we can compare the performance with these conditions, cycle time and CPI. And this is because also actually so we need to mention the other conditions like the same instruction set architecture and then same compiler. Here, then also same algorithm, same program. So you can just compare the CPU time like this. 이거는 한번 리뷰해 보세요. Okay, when we mention the CPI, but then we can also calculate the CPI like this. So different instruction classes take different number of cycles. What is the different instruction classes? Like actually there are many instructions in the instruction set architecture. For example, add instruction, sub instruction, that is just plus, sub is minus, and multiply and load instruction, store instruction. This is the memory instruction, and then jump and branch instructions. So these are different classes of instructions, and then different classes of instruction can take different number of cycles. It is because some instructions are complex to execute. Okay, so for example, this add instruction may take 1 clock cycle, but load or store instruction can take 2 clock cycles. And then jump instruction maybe 2. So as the instructions have different number of cycles, clock cycles, then when we calculate the CPI, then we need to consider this factor. Okay. So when the different instructions have take different number of cycles, then clock cycle is just the summation of CPI for the different classes multiplied by instruction count of a same class. That's true. That's actually, it's obvious. Also, we can calculate the weighted average CPI based on the weighted fraction of instructions. Actually, the fractions of instructions. For example, in an application, this add, sub is the same class of instruction. This R-type instruction is occupy 0.4 is a fraction of this R-type instruction, and then load, store, this memory instruction occupy 0.4, and then jump, and then some other branch instruction occupy the 0.2. That is the fraction of instructions in an application. And then, you know, these fractions are different for different applications. So when this fraction of instruction class is given, then we can calculate the average CPI, like CPI, clock per instruction of such class of instruction multiplied by this fraction of this class of instructions. Okay. So this is the example. So this A, B, C are classes of instruction. So instruction class A, instruction class B, and instruction class C. And then this is the CPI for class. So for the class A instruction, the one clock is only taken. Class B, 2 clocks, and then class C, 3 clocks, right? And then this is the instruction count in sequence 1. So in this example, this table used the sequence, so it's a different sequence, but we can change this sequence as the application. So the application 1, application 2. So you can find the, and then as for the different applications, different instruction count. So the fraction of the instruction class are also different. 당연하죠. Some applications may use more memory operation. So that kind of application will have higher fraction of memory instructions. 이건 당연한 거죠. It's obvious. So this is the instruction count of class A is 2, 1, 2 is 4, 1, 1. Then how can we calculate the clock cycle? So obvious. For the sequence 1, total instruction count is 5. For the sequence 2, total instruction count is 6. So plus, 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 plus. And then clock cycle for this sequence 1 is 1 multiply 1 multiplied 2. So it's a 2 multiplied by 1 here. 1 multiplied by 2 and then 2 multiplied by 3. So total cycles for sequence 1 is 10. Then what is the average CPI? This is the clock cycle divided by number of instructions. So 2.0. And then for the sequence 2, total instruction count is 6. Clock cycle is 9 with the same way. And the average CPI is the 1.5. So what can you know? For the different sequences, CPI can be different. Okay. Also, the CPI is determined by application type. So this is the summary of the performance measure. The CPU time is the instructions per program multiplied by clock cycles per instruction. That is CPI. And then seconds per clock cycle. That is clock period. And then performance depends on algorithm, affect instruction count, CPI, possibly, but algorithm mostly influences the instruction count. Programming language affects instruction count and CPI. So if we use the better programming language such as C, then instruction count may be reduced and the CPI is reduced, so performance can be better. Compiler affect also instruction count, CPI, and then instruction set architecture, ISA, affect the total. So what does this mean? Instruction set architecture also determines can determine clock frequency also. If we use the simple instructions such as RISC, then we can the processor can use higher clock frequency. Okay, so this is another performance metric called MIPS. And then MIPS means the millions of instruction per second. So this MIPS just considers how many instructions can be executed during the unit time. Okay, how many instructions. So this is another people like some mistake like for the MIPS. So we know. So now we learned about the definition of a MIPS. And then so it's the number of instructions per second. So computer A, the MIPS is 2. Computer B, the MIPS is 3. So which is better computer? B, because MIPS more instructions can be executed. we cannot say B is better computer. Why? So when we just compare the MIPS, then so MIPS just which condition should be same when we just compare the performance with the MIPS. Instruction set architecture should be same. So, for example, the same application, and then this same application is compiled by x86 GCC compiler, also compiled by ARM GCC compiler. So different is compiled to the different instruction set architecture compiler. Then the instruction count can be high. No. This is high normally because this is risk. The number of instruction is high, and the number of instruction is low. So in this case, when this same application is executed on the ARM CPU, then MIPS can be higher because more instructions can be executed in the same time. But the performance of x86 CPU can be better. It is because the smaller number of instructions are executed, but for the same application, when the same application is compiled by x86 architecture, then the number of instructions is smaller. So this is some mistake when we use the MIPS as performance metric. This is because yeah. So don't account for the instruction set architecture and then some complexity in instructions. So this is the equation of the MIPS instruction count. Just divide the instruction count divided by execution time multiplied by 10 to 6 because it's the millions instruction. So this is some mistake when we just use the MIPS. Okay, so 네, 사실 그 MIPS라는 요거는 이렇게 이제 좀 우리가 이제 헷갈릴 수가 있기 때문에 시험 문제 이제 많이 나올 수가 있습니다. Okay. So I think I need to stop here. In the next class, I will cover this power trend of the computer processor and Moore's law. Moore's law is a very popular empirical law in the computer architecture field. So I will cover the Moore's law. Okay. So do you have any questions? Actually, due to the DDoS attack, the network situation is unstable in the Korea University. So the university recommend to check the attendance during the class. So actually, I will not check the attendance in the Blackboard or some other platform, but during the class, I sometimes show the I will sometimes provide a pop quizzes, and the pop quiz is composed of some several short questions. So, but it will be randomly provided. So based on this pop quiz score, I will calculate the attendance score. Okay. Okay. Do you have any other questions? 요거는 여기 보면은 이 문제 조건에서 이 보면은 컴퓨터 B는 클락 사이클이 1.2배가 되었다라고 이제 얘기를 하고 있잖아요. 근데 우리가 이제 목표로 하는 CPU 타임은 6이 되는 거죠. 그래서 이제 이퀘이션 할 때 사실 클락 레이트 오브 컴퓨터 B는 클락 사이클을 그 컴퓨터 B의 CPU 타임으로 나눈 거죠. 이거는 그 이퀘이션에 따라서 뭐 우리는 이제 요 CPU 타임 B는 6세컨드로 이미 딱 정해놨기 때문에 이거는 이제 6을 써주면 되는 건데 대신 여기 우리가 이제 faster 클락을 쓰게 되면서 클락 사이클이 1.2배, 그러니까 20%가 증가를 했다라고 가정을 한 거예요, 문제에서. 이거 이제 문제 이제 컨디션이죠. 그래서 이제 요 클락 사이클 오브 컴퓨터 B를 클락 사이클 오브 컴퓨터 A에다가 1.2 곱한 걸로 해준 겁니다. 바꿔준 거죠. 그만큼 클락 사이클이 증가를 했다. 됐나요? 예, 된 것 같네요. 예. So, okay. So I will stop here. And then, yeah. 수고 많았습니다. 예, 다음 주 월요일에 뵙도록 하겠습니다. See you next Monday.